What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. We got some surprising news to many boxing prognosticators yesterday. Not to myself. All you gotta do is check my receipts. I predicted this 3 months ago, but we got some surprising news to many as the Filipino icon and surefire Hall of Famer when he hangs up his gloves, former 8th Division World Champion and former WBA welterweight champion Manny Pacquiao will take on unified welterweight champion who holds titles in the WBC, IBF, Errol the Truth Spence, aka Free Smoke. They're gonna fight on August the 21st. The location will be Las Vegas, Nevada, aka Sin City. Surprising developments to a lot of people, but check my video out. I did a video about, I think about 3 months ago. And I told you guys, basically right after Errol Spence Jr. defeated Danny Garcia in AT&T Stadium, AKA Jerry's World, put on a beautiful display, dominated a guy that he had never been dominated in his whole career, in Danny the Swift Garcia. I told you right after that fight that you will see Errol Spence Jr. fight Manny Pacquiao in July. That's the date I gave. Now, the only thing I got wrong was they're not going to fight in July. They're going to fight in August the 21st. And the only reason why they're fighting in August instead of July is because of the Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury 2 fight that's going to take place July the 24th. So they had to push it back to August. If Wilder wouldn't have won his arbitration case and Fury would have went ahead and fought Joshua in August, then you would have seen Spence versus Pacquiao in July, like I stated 3 months ago. Check the receipts. Check my past videos. I did a video 3 months ago. Go in the archives and check it out. I made a video that got a lot of views, and people were like, what's your inside source? What kind of information you got? I said, I'm telling you, that's going to be the next fight. Then we saw a lot of names got thrown out. Well, Manny Pacquiao is going to be fighting Terrence Bud Crawford, the WBO welterweight champion. Abu Dhabi is going to be the location of that fight, and that fight fell through due to the fact that, according to Bob Arum, they didn't have proof of funds. They couldn't come up with the money. They promised a lot of things, but when it got down to the rubber meeting the road, they couldn't produce the money for that fight, so that fight fell through. Then you heard about Manny Pacquiao fighting Mikey Garcia from Oxnard, California, Mikey doing all these videos with old girl, I can't remember her name, on Fight Hype and stuff like that. He's saying, we're still negotiating, and Manny Pacquiao got so many people that represent him. It's kind of hard to get consistent negotiations going on with Manny Pacquiao, because he got like 5 or 6 different people representing him. He got 5 or 6 different managers. One manager say one thing, and other managers say another thing. It's kind of hard to get it done, but I'm basically gonna give Manny Pacquiao 2 weeks to get his act together, or I'm moving on. That's what Mikey Garcia was saying in that video. Mikey Garcia was acting like he was the A side. Mikey Garcia, you the B side. How you gonna give Manny Pacquiao a deadline, number one? You ain't even the A side of the fight. You're not the cash cow of that fight. Manny Pacquiao is the A side of that fight. You got a following. You've done a successful pay-per-view with Errol Spence Jr., but you ain't no A side. So I don't know what that was really all about. I don't know if Manny Pacquiao was using him as a backup plan. That's probably what it was. A backup plan in case the negotiations with Errol Spence fell through. And obviously that wasn't the case, as we saw an announcement that was made yesterday for Spence versus Pacquiao. And that's a very intriguing matchup, man. Before I break that matchup down, let's talk about Terrence Bud Crawford, where he goes from here. Terrence Bud Crawford, your contract runs out in October, and you need to move on from Top Rank Boxing. That's just the bottom line. Top Rank Boxing is taking you as far as they could take you. Your career is kind of stagnated right now, and you need to move your career into another direction that don't involve Top Rank Boxing. That's just all it is to it, man. You look at Mayweather, he left. Mikey Garcia left. Pacquiao left. All the top fighters, they left. They outgrew the company, basically. They got to a point where, they said, look, I'm at another level, and you want to give me this type of money, and I'm beyond all that. You want to put me in these type of fights, I'm beyond all that. You want to give me, basically Top Rank want to control everything. Even the top fighter, that's the problem. They want to control everything. They want to be basically the final say in all your career decisions. And that's when you get to that boss level of boxing, as far as being a fighter and being a guy that a lot of people want to fight and a lot of people want to get in the ring with, and it really don't matter about the you own ESPN and they own PBC, or you own ESPN and they own the Zone. It shouldn't be about that, because the fight between you two guys is gonna make a whole lot of money, and y'all shouldn't be having no barrier of different networks stopping you from fighting a particular fighter that's especially a big name, and they fighting on again on a different network, and the fight can't happen. Once you get to that level, you need to get past top rank boxing. You need to move on from top rank boxing. And that's what Bud Crawford need to do. They need to move on from top rank boxing, because they're a barrier right now in him getting big fights. You see what I'm saying? He ain't got the Errol Spence Jr. fight in because Bob Arum talking about 50-50. Now, I ain't gonna lie, Terrence Bud Crawford co-signed that, say he want 50-50. But if Terrence Crawford was away from top rank and he was leaving a free agent or something like that, or even with another promoter that understands his worth and understand that it's about making the big fights. It's about chasing a legacy. And you might take short money in the first fight, but you're gonna make big money. You actually gonna get the bag in the long run, especially if you get the win in that first fight. And that's what people around Bud Crawford should explain to Bud Crawford when he was basically insisting on 50-50 with a fight with Errol Spence Jr. when Errol Spence Jr. was doing better numbers. It's not about who #1 on the pound-for-pound list and this, that, and the third. It's about what you bring into the table as far as financially wise. And it's just obviously and abundantly clear that Errol Spence Jr. is a bigger draw. His fights make more money, and he's just a bigger brand than Terrence Bud Crawford. That's just all there is to it. Now, I ain't saying he's a better fighter than Terrence Bud Crawford. I ain't saying if they get in the ring, he'll beat Terrence Bud Crawford. I'm just saying as far as the financial exploit of boxing, the business side of boxing, Errol Spence Jr. is obviously a bigger draw than Terrence Bud Crawford. Just look at the pay-per-view numbers. That's all you got to do to look at. You can even look at the TV numbers. As Terrence Bud Crawford's highest number he did on ESPN was over 3 million people watched this fight. Errol Spence Jr. highest number on regular TV was 6 million people watched this fight with Bundu. I think Terrence Bud Crawford was 3 million. I think it was either the Jose Benavidez Jr. fight. I believe that was his highest rate, or either that or the Igor Kavalauskas fight. But those are 2-3 million people that watched those two fights, respectively. And like I said, Errol Spence Jr. was 6 million. A lot of people gonna say, well, of course Errol Spence Jr. did great numbers. This fight was right after the men's U.S. men's basketball gold medal game, so he reaped the benefits of it. But we can say the same thing about Terrence Bud Crawford. That Igor Kavalauskas fight, that came right after the Heisman Trophy ceremony. So he benefited from that taking place before he fought. So we can talk about, who benefited on what situation. We can talk about that all day long, but we just got to look at the numbers. We got to look at the numbers, and the numbers say that Errol Spence Jr. is a bigger draw than Terrence Bud Crawford. Now, you don't know, we can go through the pay-per-view numbers too if you want to. I did a video the other day talking about the pay-per-view numbers when we was talking about the Porter fight. Porter is in his options of who he gonna fight next. But let's look at that again. His first pay-per-view that Terrence Bud Crawford did against Victor Posto, he did 60,000 pay-per-view buys. Okay, Errol Spence Jr. first pay-per-view, he did with Mikey Garcia. He did 360,000 pay-per-view buys. So that's 300,000 more pay-per-view buys than Terrence Bud Crawford's pay-per-view. When they did their pay-per-view first one. Let's go to the second pay-per-view. Terrence Bud Crawford versus Amir Khan did 150,000 pay-per-view buys. And Errol Spence Jr. versus Sean Showtime Porter did 275,000 pay-per-view buys. Okay? So his numbers was better than his second, Terrence Bud Crawford's fight. When they did their second pay-per-view, Errol Spence Jr. got the better numbers. Now, Terrence Bud Crawford didn't do another pay-per-view because obviously them first two flopped, so they didn't want to put him on pay-per-view no more. So he went back to being on ESPN. Errol Spence Jr. did another pay-per-view with Danny Swift Garcia. That fight did 250,000 pay-per-view buys. So the numbers speak for themselves. Errol Spence Jr. is the bigger draw. He brings a higher revenue in this fight than does Terrence Bud Crawford. as we know, Bob Arum said that he's lost so much money on Terrence Bud Crawford. The money that he lost on Crawford, he could have bought a home in Beverly Hills. You don't hear Al Heyman saying nothing like that about Errol Spence Jr. And here he is now looking at Errol Spence Jr. in his 4th consecutive pay-per-view fight against Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. So he's a bigger draw. So until Terrence Bud Crawford is willing to accept the B-side of it, and whatever that B-side number is, he's got to be willing to accept that. It was 60-40. I don't know what it's going to be after Errol Spence Jr. if he defeats Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. I don't know what the number is going to be after that, but he's going to have to understand that he's the B-side status. He's got to understand that, and he's got to understand that, hey, if he beats Errol Spence Jr. and he becomes the A-side, he'll be able to basically reverse that deal that he get in the first fight with Errol Spence Jr. He's got to understand that, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't want to understand that, that fight's never going to happen. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But let's talk about the matchup between Errol Spence Jr. versus Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. It's going to be a good fight. You know, a lot of people going to say, oh, man, Errol Spence, he gonna dominate him. He going to watch Pacquiao. Pacquiao, 42 years old. Pacquiao is not going to be able to do nothing with Errol Spence Jr. Or some people going to say, well, Manny Pacquiao is going to beat Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. ain't found nobody like Pacquiao. Pacquiao got a lot of experience. Pacquiao's got fast hands. He's a guy that fights pretty much his own style. He's got a style that pretty much no boxing has before him or since he been in the boxing. Actually, he's got a real different type of style to his fighting, man. Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. He's got a real different style, man. His style is very, very unique. I'm trying to find the word to say it, but it's very, very unique. But as far as this fight goes, it's all about the jab with Errol Spence Jr. He's got to set the jab up. He's got to set that jab up. But one thing he's going to have to quit doing, especially when he's fighting Pacquiao, what Errol Spence likes to do is he likes to jab, get his punches out. But when you throwing punches back at him, he likes to be in a high guard. He can't do that with Pacquiao. Pacquiao going to eat that up. You remember Joshua Clottey? Clottey did that a lot of stuff too. He'll throw a punch, but when you punch back at him, he don't like to punch with you. That's one thing Errol Spence don't like to do. He really don't like to punch with you. And that's going to be a problem because once Pacquiao starts throwing punches and Errol Spence Jr. goes into that high guard, Pacquiao going to go down to the body. He's going to go down to the body with some vicious body shots. That's what he did with Clottey. He would have stopped Clottey if Clottey would have let his hands go. But Clottey just didn't let his hands go because he respected the power of Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. So that's one thing Errol Spence is going to have to do. Errol Spence got to jab, and get out of harm's way. He got to jab, and don't just don't go with the high guard and stay there because, like I said, Pacquiao going to go to the body. If he come with the high guard, he's going to go to the body. He's going to eat that up. Another thing he got to understand is the speed of Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. He's a guy that you think he out of range, but he is so quick as getting in range from out of range. His speed is very blinding speed, and you really can't replicate that in sparring. You can't replicate it in sparring because you think he out of range, then he jumps in range, bop, 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 with that 1-2-3 punch, that 2-3 punch combination, then he jump out of range, and that speed of out of range and in range is so fast, and it's something that you can't replicate in your sparring. That it's gonna take Errol Spence to get in the ring and get a feel for it. But I think the first half of the fight, he's gonna have problems with the in and out combination shots that Manny Pacquiao gonna be getting in with on him. He's gonna be jumping in with the 2-3 punch combination. He's gonna jump out. His footwork is so good, and his speed is, like I said, as far as getting in range, getting his punches off, and then jumping right back out of range, and then he throws punches from different angles. You're thinking he's circling to your left, and then you think he's finna try to circle to the left, and he'll throw a punch from the angle that you don't think he's gonna throw that punch from. Let me just put it to you like that. The guy is very, very slick, and he's very awkward. He sets traps for you. You know, you look at when he fought Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather said after he fought Pacquiao, he said, I could see he was trying to set traps for him. He's a very smart fighter. You know, it's some stuff that you can't really anticipate. Watching him, you're thinking like, oh, he's just a guy that's throwing a lot of shots. He's jumping in, and he's kind of reckless at times. He's a guy that's got fast hands, but I can time him and this, that, and the third. But when you get in the ring with him, you got to understand the guy's setting you up for a lot of his shots. He's giving you a different, he's got good head movement. He's moving his head, and he's getting you to try to throw some punches where he can land that straight left. He got a very good left hand, a sneaky left hand. Pacquiao, a good fighter. Only thing you worry about with Pacquiao is his age, man. He's 42 years old. You don't know if he can go 12 rounds at a high level. You look at the Keith Thurman fight, He fought a beautiful first half of that fight, but in the second half of that fight, around 9 to 10, he seemed to slow down as Kirk Thurman basically was having a lot of success in the second half of that fight with overhand rights and stuff like that. He was able to get Pacquiao on the ropes. He was able to do some damage to Pacquiao on the ropes, especially, like I say, with the right hands, and he was catching him with some straight lefts too. So he was doing a lot of good things in the second half of that fight. He can't be on them ropes with Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. get him on them ropes, man. Errol Spence Jr. gonna go to the body. Unlike that Keith Thurman was looking for headshots, Errol Spence Jr. is gonna be going to the body. He's gonna be going to the body. He's gonna be working that rib cage, and he's gonna be breaking down Manny Pacquiao. Where Pacquiao is not gonna have the strength to come back, you know, in the championship rounds like he did with Keith Thurman. He was able to come back in them championship rounds and hurt Keith Thurman again. That pretty much sealed the deal for Manny Pacquiao. And if Keith Thurman would have invested a little bit more in the body shot, especially when he got Pacquiao on the ropes, maybe Pacquiao wouldn't have had that gas in the tank in the last couple of rounds to hurt Keith Thurman. That's one thing Errol Spence Jr. gonna be able to do. Errol Spence Jr. is not Keith Thurman. Errol Spence Jr. is a more of a complete fighter. He's a guy that's not going to slow down. He's a guy that's not going to make the mistakes. He's a smart fighter in his own right. And it's going to be a good fight, man. It's going to be a high-level fight. It's going to be a chess match early on. I think the key is Errol Spence Jr. has got to set that jab up, and he's got to make Manny Pacquiao reset off the jab. When Manny Pacquiao gets close, he's got to get out of harm's way. He's going to have to fight this fight like he fought against Mikey Garcia. You know, jab, 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 right hand, jab, jab, right hand, 2-3 punch combinations, get out of there. And don't be backing straight back with the high guard up. Because if you do that, Manny Pacquiao is going to follow you going backwards, and he's going to work your body. He's going to do you like he did Clotty. And you got to quit doing that. So he's going to have to jab, jab, right hand, and then circle. Instead of going back with the high guard, or circle. And what you want to do is you want to circle to your right. Circle to your left. My bad. You want to circle to your left. Circle to your left. But you circle to your right, you're going to be going right into Manny Pacquiao's straight left hand. Like I said, he does a good job of disguising that left hand. He's got a real sneaky left hand. So it's going to be jab, jab, right hand, and circle to your left. That's what you're going to have to do. That's going to be the key to this fight, man. It's going to be a good fight, man, and I'm going to break it down more into detail, man, but that's the news, man. Manny Pacquiao versus Errol Spence Jr., August 21st in Las Vegas, Nevada. They're looking for a venue. Let me know your thoughts about this matchup, and let me know your thoughts about these surprising news that came upon us yesterday. Let me know your thoughts, and hit the like button if you like the content of this video, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. I holla.